All right, sorry about that random cutoff, y'all. I accidentally hit the button. So this is part 2 of that video. We're gonna need 2 parts for this anyway, so I might as well do it like this. So her knees were in her lap. Her knees were in her lap. She's kind of like sitting to the side looking at me, and I'm looking at her, she's looking at me, and I'm like, all right, let me begin. I started telling her, I was like, yo, like, you know, I started expressing to her, it's that 777 in you. Some of y'all know that. That's that inner piece from that 777 album I made. So I'm sitting there and I start talking. I'm like, all right, look, yo, I had a dream about you recently. It opened up something inside of me I thought I suppressed about you. I feel like you have a part of me like that I need to get back. I kind of just need to get the kind of closure I need from you. So I just need to tell you a few things. She's looking at me like, yeah, I understand. I'm like, all right, so let me not waste no more time. Let me just get right into this and tell you what I'm feeling and whatnot. And I started explaining to her about our past. And I'm like, yo, like, when everything happened, it happened because it wasn't mutual between me and you. And she's looking at me like, what do you mean? I'm like, I did so much for you, and at the same time I didn't feel like I got back. When I needed you to give back and I needed you to step up and do what you were supposed to do and do what you said you was gonna do, you didn't do it. And when you didn't do that, it caused a big problem with me. And she's looking at me like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, for instance, you said that when you turned 18 or whatever, I forgot it was 21 or 18, one of the two, when you got a certain age, that you would fucking let your parents know what it is, and then we would try to get this thing going, you know, me and you. And she's like, oh, but I was. And I turned around and looked at her. I was like, no, you wasn't. She's like, no, but I was. I'm like, what do you mean you was? She's like, oh, but I was going to leave. I was going to tell them that I was with you and then not worry about them. I was like, no, you wasn't. I'm like, yo, and it's like almost like she forgot. I'm like, when the time came, you let it pass like nothing ever happened and you didn't do shit. I remember. She's like, no, I was. And I just stopped arguing at that point. I was like, no, fuck, no, like bullshit. Bullshit. That's what I was like, no, man, no, that's a lie. You're lying to me right now. You was not gonna do that. And I told her, I was like, you probably still aren't doing that. I heard nothing. I'm like, you wasn't gonna do it, you didn't do it, and that's what caused me to do what I did. Like, I told her, I was like, yo, it's not that I couldn't have waited. It's just the fact that I put everything into waiting for her to keep her word, and when it was time for her to put up, she didn't. And I was, you know, and I'm thinking, as I'm explaining this to her, I'm looking at her and I'm just getting upset. I'm like, God damn it. I started remembering why I got so angry, why I got so sick and got so pissed off with the situation. I was like, yo, like, this is bullshit, man. And then, you know, she's sitting there, I'm sitting there, I kind of get off of that. And I'm like, you know what? I understand that what it is. I just want you to know that is why I did what I did. I never wanted to really hurt you. That was never my intention. I just loved myself more than I loved you. But it's not to say I didn't love you. I cared about you, but I put myself ahead of you because I wasn't sure if I could trust you. But in reality, it wasn't even you. It was me. In reality, I couldn't trust myself. I was too afraid at that point in my life to put 100% into somebody and not be absolutely sure that I was going to get it back. But I've come to realize, in reality, and I told her this, I was like, you never know if you're going to get 100% back from somebody. Dealing with somebody, loving somebody, giving somebody your all is going to be a risk. And that's the greatest part about it, is that if you take that risk and that risk works for you, it's like you jumping into the shark waters with somebody you care about. If y'all both survive, you're going to be closer. And she was like, you know, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm like, you know, and I realize that now, but I didn't realize that then. And she cut me off. She cut me off. And she was like, you know, me and you never argued. I'm like, of course we never argued, Mia. I'm like, and it was weird because you guys got to think about it. She cut me off to tell me this. She just cut me off. Me and you never argued. Now my brain's thinking, why would you say that? You're saying that because you're comparing me to a relationship that you've had or you have. I'm like, that's the only reason you'd be comparing that, and that's the only reason you would say that, and this must be something on your mind. And I'm like, Mia, I'm like, yo, it's mad simple why we didn't argue. It's because we did not have time to argue. I'm like, we didn't take for granted our time around each other. So when we seen each other, we didn't have time to argue because we barely got to see each other. And I'm like, we went 3 years doing that shit. So of course we'd go 3 years not fucking arguing, because it's not really a relationship when you can't be around a fucking person. So how is that? I'm like, yo, that's what makes it makes sense. And she's just like, yeah. And I'm just like looking at her like, But don't worry, like, you know, you'll find somebody, like, you know, you'll find somebody that, you know, you're not gonna argue with. You're a beautiful person, you're a beautiful woman. You'll find somebody, like, I mean, someone's gonna marry you. You're not gonna sit around here. She cuts me off again. Oh, looks me right in my face. I'm supposed to be getting married. Her body language and her voice was like, almost like, I don't want to get married, but I'm supposed to be getting married to some nigga. That's kind of how she came off. Like, oh, well, I'm supposed to be getting married. I'm like, what the fuck? That was like strike 2 for me. I'm like, supposed to? I'm like, what does that mean? She's like, oh, well, I'm engaged and I'm supposed to be getting married, but, you know. And I'm like, well, it makes sense. Like, you know, I didn't think you would stay single for very long. I mean, you're a catch, but I don't, you know, that's interesting you tell me that. I'm like, congratulations, I guess. That's crazy, but congratulations. And then she just kind of looked around. Her body language at that point turned, it changed. It turned the other way. She turned, her body turned this way towards the door. And she was just kind of like crouched over, like kind of in her knees, and like her head and her knees kind of like in the same area. And I'm just looking at her like, what the fuck is going on with her? And at this point, I felt like I was getting sidetracked with what my goal was. I wanted to get it out. So I just pretty much finished up like telling her, I was just like, yo, like, long story short, I loved you. I loved you to death. Like, I cared about you. I wanted things to work. When me and you didn't work, it fucking changed me as a person. Like, everything changed. Like, I wanted to just not be the person that I was. I didn't want to make the same mistakes again. I learned a lot from you. You kind of set that bar. I told her all these things. I was like, you know, I let her know how I felt about her overall. And I also let her know that I was like, yo, like, you know, with all that being said, it's just like, it's crazy to me. Like, it's interesting, because when I think back about it now, she said one more thing, and I'm trying to remember what she said. She said 3 things. One was, me and you never argued. I'm supposed to be getting married. And she said one other thing. And I'm trying to remember what that last thing was, because it was pretty important. What was that last thing? If it comes to me, it comes to me. I'm not remembering right now. But she did say, you know, those 2 things. And I said, you know, I closed out the situation, telling her, like, yo, I always cared about you. Oh, I think the 3rd thing was her saying that she was going to. Like, she wanted me to believe that she was really going to make that sacrifice. Those 3 things are what she said. She wanted me to believe that she was going to make that sacrifice. She was fiercely fighting against me, like, oh, no, I really was. And then all the other things. So I closed out that situation just telling her, like, you know, like, you know, how I felt. And I felt like a weight was being lifted off my shoulders when I told her that. I was just like, yo, like, I really want you to know, like, this is how I feel this way about you. I care about you, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, that's that. Like, that's how I feel about everything. And the way it ended was kind of like me saying that. And then she was like, oh, well, you know, I gotta bring this. Yo, look at that. Look what this nigga's doing. He just flipped the damn hill backward. Y'all see this? Please tell me y'all see that. This nigga just hauled ass up the hill backwards from the bottom, and he's still going back. You know what? He almost hit this shit. He literally almost hit this fucking car. Anyway, back to the point. I got about another minute and 15 seconds. So, her thing was, she closed off by saying, oh, well, I gotta bring my man his food. And then she looks down. I look on the floor beneath me, and there's like a plate. And I'm thinking to myself, like, you were supposed to bring him a plate of food like 45 minutes ago. At this point, 45 minutes passed. I was just kind of laughing. I'm like, damn. And I asked her, I was like, yo, does he know that you came to see me? She's like, yeah, I told him. I'm like, you told him you was coming to see me and he's okay with that? And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, mad things was, I just heard so many things that were just kind of like, what does that mean? And she's like, yeah, like, I gotta go bring him back. So, mind you, at this point, I could feel her aura. Her aura was kind of like, she wanted to cry, but I kind of felt the same way. Like, it was like a strong, like, painful type of feeling. I don't know. It almost seemed like she wanted me to do more. Like, it almost seemed like she wanted me to take her and stop her from getting married. It almost seemed like she wanted me to go hard. Like, yo, be with me, be with me. It seems like she wanted me to do that. But I didn't do that. And it was kind of like real crazy. So, like, I got out the car. You know, I said bye to her, and, you know, she drove off. And when she drove off, it was weird because I could feel that she was tearing, yo. I felt it. Like, it was just crazy to me. I was like, yo, what is that feeling? Like, I'm feeling. And it was real painful for me. Like, I felt like I got it out. Like, I said everything I need to say, but at the same time, it was really, really painful. And I was just sitting there, like, outside. Now, mind you, this is a true story. I'm not making any of this up. When I was outside, the sky was still pink. As she started driving off, it started dripping rain. And I'm like, I said to myself, I was like, it figures. And I started walking back to my car, and as I was walking back to my car, she was hitting the corner, and I just knew, that she was tearing. Like, I don't know why to this day. I don't understand why it might have been that she was doing that. I don't really know. All I know is that it was definitely a powerful situation for her, and it was a powerful situation for me. But after that, I felt like a part of myself I got back. But at the same time, I don't know if like how she felt. I got back in the car, and I was just sitting there like mad upset. I wanted to cry. I didn't go bawling all out, but I definitely was tearing. I didn't really know why I was. I just kind of looked at it like, yo, why the fuck am I so upset? And I kind of just, you know, looking at it now, I kind of feel like the reason I was like that is just simply because that girl is extremely important to like who I've become. And I wouldn't say it's her necessarily, but it was my situation for her, like my situation with her, my feelings for her, things like that, that dictated, you know, all of that. But in reality, that conversation was mad important. So I drove, you know, I had to drive back, and we'll get into that next video, what I was thinking when I was going back, because I was thinking of a lot of things as I was driving back. I was thinking to myself, so many things, like, yo, you know, so many things I had to think about that she said, like, why did she say this? Why did she sit like that? And we'll recap that next video. I'll explain to you guys what I kind of got from that and what happened after that, because after that, mind you, this whole time that this was going on, I didn't have any sleep. I was up almost the entire 4 days. When we get back next video, we'll get into what happened, you know, when I got back to my cousins and I told them anything, and what happened when I get back to Florida and meet back up with Shotty, because shit gets real when I get back, considering this happened and I felt a certain different way. I felt different. I felt like different. So we'll get into that. It's your boy Ace. Damn, that shit makes me feel a certain way talking about that, man. It really does. It really does. That's one of those videos where it really, like, that's some real shit. It's interesting to go back into that point in my life and think about that and be like, damn, that's crazy that happened. With your boy Ace, I'm glad I shared this with you guys. I'm glad I'm back, and look forward to the next video. Like I said, I'm trying to release these daily, so stay up. Your boy Ace, I'm out.